Hi, everyone. If you don't know me, my name's Michelle Vinikurov. I am an autistic blogger of my own blog website, The World of Autism. A lot of you guys know that, I've been going through a journey of doing a lot of ABA. I work with an ABA company on the side as an RBT and so many other roles, autistic advocate. I got all that. Full time, I work for the school district. I have a brand new role that I just started last month. I did move up in the school district and pretty much now, pretty much mainly now trying to train teachers on ABA interventions in their classrooms and stuff. So it's very exciting about that. So a lot of new stuff happening. And I have a new guest that's on here on a guest series on the World of Autism. I have Alyssa. How are you doing today, Alyssa?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Of course. I'm glad that you were on today. For those
Mhm.
who don't know you, can you introduce yourself a little bit?
Sure. Well, first, I didn't realize that you worked in a school district. So, congratulations on your recent promotion. And I think that's huge. There's so much more support that's needed in the school, and that's the one setting I haven't worked in yet. um,
Thank you.
yeah. So, about me, my name is Alyssa Latham. I'm a licensed behavior analyst and a board certified behavior analyst, BCBA. I live here in San Antonio, Texas. Um, Growing up, I always knew I wanted to work with kids. I always assumed I'd be a teacher or a psychologist, something in between. I really like being hands-on, but being one-on-one with people is kind of my sweet spot. I think leading a group is is hard. My closest um, experience to that was coaching volleyball, and that was not my jam. I preferred the private lessons. So having those individual connections is kind of where I thrive. In college, I explored different areas to support kids and families, but just hadn't quite landed on a career path. And so I had ran into a friend who was an RBT before the credentials were called an RBT at that time. And that sounded really interesting to me. So I went and shadowed at an ABA clinic for 2 weeks, and I instantly loved it. I loved the fast pace and the individual connection you make with. This was a pediatric clinic, so with the kids, and also connecting with their parents and just seeing how I wasn't just supporting one person, I was supporting a family unit, and that was really exciting to me because every family is so different, every individual is so different, and so it challenges me to be analytic but also creative at the same time. And I think it's the ABA is kind of that perfect fit. Um, so continued working as an RBT and wasn't sure how to grow professionally in this. Found out about the graduate program here in San Antonio, and I pursued a master's in special education, focusing on applied behavior analysis, and have been a BCBA since 2016. I started off, my very first clinic was multidisciplinary. So there was ABA, speech, occupational and physical therapy, and aquatic therapy all under one roof, which was awesome. That loved being able to be around other professionals. That really laid the groundwork on collaborating. That's a huge part of my approach, is I love collaborating with other fields. And then so age range, I've worked with itty bitty toddlers, you primarily up to high school age, which is really fun. I love working with like middle school, high school kiddos. And then in the last year, I've also worked with adults in different settings. So that could be in a group home or a day hab or at the residential home. So I've done clinic, home, community, and telehealth sessions.
Wow, that's amazing. And I loved her, especially the part that kind of resonates with me a lot is about like making those connections, like not even just with the individuals, like everybody, like the parents to
Mhm.
peers to other professionals, like that. There's this quote that goes by that it takes a village to impact one individual's life. And I really believe in that too. I use that a lot even in my roles today as
Mhm.
when it comes to working with people.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's just, you know, and like my that's why in my side work, like as an RBT, I still love doing the hands-on. And then my
Hmm.
full-time work now, I'm more so like, yes, there is some hands-on work I still did. Like I actually did that earlier today. I still did a little bit hands-on because I like seeing like what connections are being made and like what the difference is between with one person to another, just to see like what's going on like behavior wise. But yeah, I just, you know, it is all about those connections, and that's the beauty with the with ABA is about like how much connection is being built versus like just in general. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And kind of having that holistic approach too of, you know, whether you're at school, right? There's a whole team of professionals that are teaching these children. If you're at, you know, different therapies, like I mentioned, it's a whole team. And so it really just gives you kind of like a broader view towards how can I support this child and this family. I think I don't know, since that was my experience, I don't really have anything to compare it to, but I feel like maybe I would have been a little boxed in with my approach if I had started at just ABA specifically. So it was really cool to be able to expand
So
um my
yeah,
view that
I was actually gonna go right into about like more so of your business and stuff, because with your business, it's ABA Alley and consulting and stuff. I wanted to go into that more because you from I checked out everything, like including your website and stuff, and people definitely check out the website because there's a lot of good services on there and everything that, you know, if you listen with providing and everything. So I wanted to go into that because of the fact that there's so many different kinds of services and you're not just like one strict approach.
hmm
You're using all different kinds of approaches. Can you
hmm
a little bit more about that? Like especially like you were saying also about with parent coaching too that you do. So
Yeah, absolutely. So it's called Ally ABA Consulting. And the reason I started this is, you know, having worked in the ABA therapy field for 10 years, you kind of start to notice the system, right? The processes of how things are done. And time again, you know, just realizing either whether it's wait list, right? Just wait list to get an autism evaluation might take a while. An wait list to start ABA therapy might take a while. Um, and then it's different depending on what setting. If you're doing in-home, then the parents more actively involved in the session. But if it's a clinic setting, then, you know, the children are dropped off for their sessions. So parents are still only getting bits and pieces of what strategies to include um, that are working for their child, and then how to transfer that into their own setting at home. And so um, obviously this is very individualized. It depends on everyone's circumstances, and who their provider is makes a huge difference. But I just wanted to like cut all that wait time out. Like you don't even need an autism diagnosis to receive coaching services, because I'm teaching you behavior strategies. Everyone has behaviors, right? So this can apply to just a parent who maybe is just overwhelmed and isn't really sure what their parenting approach is, and they're just looking for something different because what they're doing right now doesn't feel like it's working. Um, or someone who did just receive an autism diagnosis, but maybe they don't really have any ABA services nearby that are accessible. And so you meet with me virtually, just like this on Zoom. And we have messaging support between sessions as well. So it's kind of like they have a BCBA in their back pocket. And it's really putting the parents in the driver's seat, which I love, rather than the traditional model. Um, you know, you're really relying on those conversations that drop off and pick up, and you're relying on those conversations during your scheduled family guidance meetings. But this is really like I'm giving you all the resources and strategies that I can think of that will help your situation. And then, you know, helping you, giving you the confidence to go do it. Um, so that's the difference in the model. And just really honestly wanting to cut out that wait time is huge.
that's
Um,
yes, that's a really important factor because a lot of families nowadays, like they have to like wait for services to be provided for them, you know, and that's where, why should they have to be waiting for these services and everything?
Mhm.
It should be there accessible for them, you know. So I
Yeah.
agree with you more about with that change and stuff because it's still happening with a lot of modern ABA companies that there's a whole wait list and stuff due to, a million factors like getting enough RBTs to behavior analysts to all this. So I could
Mhm.
see why and everything. But I know there's been debates about with telehealth. I know there's just debates about it.
Yeah.
Like have you gotten like good responses about it when it comes to your telehealth?
Yeah. So it might not be the solution for everyone. And so just knowing that we have to kind of screen during my free consultation calls and see, is this going to be a good fit or would I recommend an in-person provider? Um, I can also do services with adults individually, right? So if I'm working with like we were talking earlier about employment. So if I'm working with a client who has that goal to be employed and have that financial independence, but all the logistical steps of how do I write a resume? How do I practice interview skills?
Mhm.
Um, what do I do if there's conflicts at work? So we can work on those conflict resolution. That can be an example of what our Zoom sessions might look like for coaching sessions with an adult as the client. Excuse me. And if I'm working with a parent, they have the option to have their child involved in the session, or I can just meet with the parent directly. That's going to depend on, do they have that prereq skill to be able to attend and communicate with me? Is it something that maybe the parent just wants me to like see, like, dinner time is always an issue. Then we could do a session during dinner time, or if they're comfortable with sending me a video of their dinner time as well. And then we can kind of pinpoint different strategies to try for the next dinner time.
Which
Um,
is yeah, which is absolutely great that like how individualized it is from one person to another. And yeah, I can agree more about with the prereq of if they're going to be able to attend online sessions because in my background with the school district, especially when COVID happened, like
mhm,
there was a lot of students that I've worked with that, having that prereq, like it could have been better for them in person, obviously, but due to the circumstances, you know.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah,
Everyone had to
so
adjust without warning.
yep. And that's pretty much what that happened at the time. It's amazing how much services have changed now over time, even in the ABA field, like incorporating telehealth as
Mhm,
an option and which is wonderful about with your business and everything is that lifting off the shoulders of waitlist because there's such a need out there for families to get the services as early as possible because that's the goal. The goal is
mhm.
to get the services as early as possible so changes are happening.
Exactly. Exactly. Especially that
Yes.
early intervention window is huge.
Yeah, for me personally, I will say that I had early intervention services very young, including ABA therapy and all like ABA therapy, speech therapy, occupational physical, you name it. And for me, which people say this is rare nowadays, I had 7 days a week of mixed therapies, 7 days a week, just
Wow.
because because of the challenges that I had, including communication. I was nonverbal until I said my first word at the age of 6 years old. So it I that's why I always advocate for a lot when it comes to intervention services and getting them as soon as possible. So I really appreciate how much that your business does with lifting that waitlist shoulder off of for families. And I hope that more ABA companies will focus on that the way that you do that. So thank you about that, and for everything that you do as a behavior analyst. It is
Yeah.
wonderful. It is absolutely wonderful, and like including with the parent coaching and everything. So thank you for all you do. I appreciate you and everybody that works in this field. I really do.
Wow, you're so sweet. And I can't believe you were in services 7 days a week. That makes me tired just thinking about it. But look at you now. That's amazing.
Yeah, I it really paid off. That's what I think about, and I go for
Mhm.
circle now into like helping this school district out and everything, and just working with teachers and with and even with the ABA company I work with outside, work with families and stuff because I do the home setting. So I
Oh, cool.
all kinds. Yeah, I'm doing home and school settings, so it's like I got that balance happening.
Yeah. And honestly, every new setting that you work in, it just expands your growth as a clinician. It expands your knowledge. And yeah, it's just cool. It just kind of you just learn more that you didn't think about. How does this generalize from the school to the home setting, or how
Mhm.
does this generalize to the community setting? Um, it's different working with adults, right? Picking priorities for goals is very different than picking priorities for goals as a child. So
Yeah.
um, yeah, we're always problem solving, which is fun.
Yeah, it's always problem solving. Is. So I want to wrap this up by for you if you can share one tip that you have for behavior analysts when they're working with autistic people. What would that be?
Mm. Oh, it's hard to narrow down to one, but I would say just be open to learning. Um, whether that's like you talked about earlier, listening to the families and the stories, right? We're working with people and people's stories matter, right? They yes, it's important to stay up to date on the latest research, but you're working with people, right? Um, so being open to learning what's important to them, what are their priorities. Be open to learning about your client's special interest, right? I've learned about so many topics that I wouldn't have ever, looked up on my own. That can be really fun. Um, and then if I were to add a second tip, it would be because we are in the helping industry, the serving industry, um, it's important for you as a human to have your own boundaries because you know that's on and that's another reason I created Ally ABA Consulting is on a personal note, I became a mom and I wanted, having time with my family was a huge um, priority for me, more so than what my previous hours were. And it's just important to have those boundaries. So that way, when we are present for our clients, we're fully present with the energy and the attention that they deserve. Um, and those boundaries are going to look different for everybody. But those would be my two tips, even though you just asked for one.
That's all good. That's all good. I just love the fact that how passionate you are about with the work that you do and everything. And I couldn't agree with you more about with just like being open minded when it comes to listening to people even like and even just like when it comes to collaborating and everything, like you want to be able to especially with not just collaborating but also with establishing boundaries, like those two things together, communication right there. Everything takes communication and active listening. That's how you're gonna provide quality services for sure. So
Love that. That should be a
i
slogan somewhere.
I know. I know it should be. It really should be. Well, Alyssa, I want to thank you so much for coming on here and to be able to share your experiences from being a behavior analyst and with your own business and everything. I hope that people check it out and to go through you and stuff because it is awesome. You have really good services and lifting the shoulders off of the waitlist process. So, absolutely.
Well, Thank you so much for having me. I love your blog and just everything you're doing to, support autistic voices and being an advocate, but also collaborating with professionals in this field too. It's so important that we work together.
I couldn't agree with you more about that. It's all about bridging that gap, and it takes the whole community and everybody to do that to make a big difference like that. So I really appreciate that. And for those of you, make sure to follow Alyssa. She is on Instagram, so make sure to follow her business and everything, and check out her business website. And don't forget to follow me as Exceptional Shell. That's my professional account. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, you name it. And don't forget to follow my blog website, The World of Autism. Thank you, everyone.